The twin sons of Veluna beat down mercilessly on the rust-colored dunes as Marcus Reed stepped onto the weathered deck of his homestead. The structure, half buried in sand by design, offered refuge from the planet's harsh elements while maintaining the solitude he'd craved for 3 long years. He lifted a metal cup of recycled water to his lips, savoring the cool liquid despite its metallic tang. His only companion, a mechanical dog named Bolt, whirred softly at his feet. The robot's optical sensors scanned the horizon with programmed vigilance, a habit Marcus appreciated, even if he'd chosen this remote location specifically to avoid unwanted visitors. After a decade working colonial surveys, mapping hostile planets for the Expansion Authority, Marcus had earned his retirement. This desolate corner of Veluna, legally purchased and far from any settlements, was his reward. Another beautiful day in paradise, Marcus muttered, running a hand through his shoulder-length dark hair. At 42, his lean frame still carried the muscle memory of years, traversing difficult terrain, though silver now threaded his beard, and the lines around his amber eyes had deepened. He wore simple desert clothes, a sand-colored shirt, and reinforced pants practical for the environment. Bolt's sensors suddenly flashed red, and the mechanical dog emitted a sharp warning beep. "What is it?" Marcus straightened, instantly alert. The robot rarely triggered false alarms. Bolt's head swiveled toward the eastern ravine, and then the mechanical creature bounded forward with surprising speed. Marcus grabbed his survival pack and followed, his boots finding purchase on the treacherous sand. As he crested a dune, he heard a desperate, high-pitched cry that made his blood run cold. The ravine below contained one of Veluna's most dangerous features, crystal quicksand. Unlike Earth's version, this substance was composed of microscopic silicon crystals suspended in fluid, beautiful and lethal in equal measure. It shimmered like liquid diamond under the twin suns, and in its center, a small figure struggled desperately. A child. Native to Veluna, judging by her lavender skin and the intricate silver markings that traced down her arms. "Hold still," Marcus shouted, his surveyor training taking over. He assessed the situation rapidly. The child was small, maybe 8 or 9 years old, already waist-deep and sinking. A frayed rope in her hands connected to a dead thorn bush. Nearly useless as an anchor, Marcus shed his pack, pulling out a carbon fiber cable. He wrapped one end around a stable rock formation, testing it twice before securing the other end around his waist. Bolt, anchor position. The mechanical dog transformed, extending stabilizer legs that dug deep into the sand, adding extra security to Marcus's line. The child watched him with enormous violet eyes, tears cutting tracks through the crystal dust on her face. "I'm coming to get you," Marcus called, keeping his voice steady and calm. "What's your name?" "Anila," she stammered, her voice breaking. "Nyla, I need you to stay very still. Don't struggle. Can you do that for me?" She nodded, though her small body trembled with fear. Marcus began the careful process of traversing the crystal quicksand. Each step required perfect weight distribution, his years of experience on hostile planets guiding his movements. The surface shimmered and shifted beneath him, trying to pull him down with each inch of progress. Sweat dripped down his face despite the cooling gel layer in his clothing. When he finally reached Nyla, she was chest-deep, her breathing rapid and shallow. Up close, he could see the delicate bone structure of her face, the way her silver hair floated in the strange fluid like seaweed in water. Her clothing, a simple woven tunic, was stained with crystalline residue. "Put your arms around my neck," Marcus instructed. "Hold on tight and don't let go, no matter what happens." Nyla's slender arms wrapped around him, her grip surprisingly strong for someone so small. She weighed almost nothing, but extracting her from the crystal sand proved challenging. The substance clung to her, reluctant to release its prey. Marcus worked methodically, using controlled strength to pull them both backward along the safety line. The journey back seemed to take hours, though his internal chronometer registered only 8 minutes. When they finally reached solid ground, Nyla collapsed against him, sobbing. Bolt deactivated his anchor mode and circled them, sensors scanning the child for injuries. "You're safe," Marcus said quietly, awkwardly patting her back. He wasn't accustomed to comforting children or anyone, really. "What were you doing out here alone?" Nyla pulled back, wiping at her eyes with crystal-encrusted hands. I wanted to see the singing stones. They only appear after the dust storms, and I thought I could reach them before anyone noticed I was gone." She gestured toward a cluster of unusual crystal formations jutting from the ravine wall, which hummed softly in the wind. Marcus sighed, recognizing the reckless curiosity that had nearly cost her life. "Those stones aren't worth dying for." "I know," she whispered, shame coloring her voice. "Mother will be so angry." "Your mother will be relieved you're alive," Marcus corrected, helping her to her feet. "Where is your settlement?" "I'll take you home." Nyla's eyes widened with something like panic. "No, I mean, I can find my way back. It's not far. If you come with me, there will be questions and ceremonies. And I'm not leaving you alone in the desert," Marcus said firmly. "Lead the way, or I'll have Bolt track your settlement by scent signature." The child bit her lip, clearly torn between gratitude and concern about the consequences of bringing a stranger home. Finally, she nodded. "Follow me, but don't be surprised when we get there. My people, they're very traditional. When someone saves a life, especially the life of someone important, there are ... customs." "Important?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. Nyla ducked her head. "My mother is Zara. She leads the Shifting Dunes tribe." Marcus felt a sinking sensation in his gut. He'd saved the daughter of a tribal matriarch. So much for his peaceful isolation. 3 days passed after Marcus returned Nyla to the edge of her tribal territory. The girl had hugged him fiercely before disappearing into a network of caves that honeycombed the canyon walls, leaving Marcus to trudge back to his homestead with a vague sense of unease. He'd kept interactions with Veluna's indigenous population minimal, preferring the simplicity of solitude to the complexity of cultural entanglements. Now, standing on his deck in the early morning light, watching a procession of figures emerge from the heat shimmer on the horizon, Marcus realized his solitude had just evaporated like water on hot sand. "Bolt, we've got company," he muttered. The mechanical dog's sensors whirred, analyzing the approaching group. There were at least 30 of them, moving with purposeful grace across the dunes. Even from a distance, Marcus could distinguish their lavender skin and the glint of what appeared to be ceremonial armor. They moved in formation, disciplined and deliberate. Not the casual approach of traders or wanderers. Marcus quickly changed into his cleanest clothes, a dark shirt, and reinforced pants, and strapped a small ceremonial knife to his belt. Not as a weapon, but because he'd learned long ago that showing up unarmed to a formal meeting could be interpreted as disrespect or cowardice. He ran fingers through his hair, attempting to tame it into something presentable, then gave up and tied it back with a leather cord dot by the time the procession reached his homestead. Marcus stood waiting, back straight, hands visible and relaxed at his sides. Bolt sat obediently beside him. Optical sensors dimmed to appear less threatening. The group arranged themselves in a semicircle, and Marcus's breath caught as their leader stepped forward. She was tall for her species, perhaps reaching his shoulder, with a presence that seemed to command the very air around her. Her lavender skin bore intricate silver markings that flowed like rivers from her temples down her neck and arms, disappearing beneath armor that looked both ceremonial and functional. Unlike her warriors, who wore helmets adorned with crystalline spikes, Her face was uncovered, revealing high cheekbones, a strong jaw, and eyes the color of deep amethyst. Her silver hair was braided into an elaborate crown, woven with small bells that chimed softly with each movement. She wore flowing robes over her armor, the fabric shifting through shades of purple and blue like desert twilight. At her side hung a curved blade in an ornate sheath, and she carried a staff topped with a pulsing crystal that seemed to breathe with inner light. Beside her stood Nyla, scrubbed clean and dressed in white ceremonial clothing, her eyes bright with excitement when they met Marcus's. The woman Zara. It had to be studied him with an intensity that made Marcus feel exposed, as if she could read every scar and secret etched into his soul. When she finally spoke, her voice was rich and melodious, carrying easily across the space between them. I am Zara, matriarch of the shifting dunes, keeper of the crystal ways, voice of the ancestors. She paused, and Marcus detected the faintest hint of amusement in her eyes. And mother to a daughter who doesn't listen when told the ravines are forbidden. Nyla flushed, but grinned unrepentantly. Marcus Reed, he replied simply. Retired surveyor, keeper of my own peace. A ripple of surprise moved through the assembled warriors at his informal introduction. But Zara's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. You saved my daughter from the crystal sands, she continued. In doing so, you created a bond that cannot be ignored or dismissed with simple thanks. Anyone would have done the same, Marcus said, echoing words that felt inadequate even as he spoke them. No. Zara's voice was soft but firm. Not anyone would risk themselves for a child not of their blood or kind, especially not one who has chosen isolation over community. Marcus felt heat rise to his face. You've been watching me. This land has eyes, Zara replied. We know all who dwell upon it. You've been here 3 cycles of the seasons, never venturing beyond your territory, never seeking contact with my people. Why? The directness of her question caught him off guard. I've had enough of people, he said finally. Enough of politics and complications. I came here for peace. And yet you ran into danger to save a stranger's child, Zara observed. She stepped closer, and Marcus caught a scent like desert flowers and ozone. Perhaps you are not as tired of people as you believe. Perhaps you are simply tired of the wrong people. Before Marcus could formulate a response, Zara gestured to Nyla. The girl stepped forward, carrying a wooden box carved with intricate patterns. She presented it to Marcus with both hands, her expression solemn despite the excitement dancing in her eyes. My daughter brings you a gift of gratitude, Zara explained. It is our way. A life debt must be honored. Marcus accepted the box carefully, aware that every eye was on him. Inside, nestled in soft fabric, lay a pendant of teardrop-shaped crystal that pulsed with soft lavender light, suspended from a silver chain. The craftsmanship was extraordinary, the metalwork so delicate it seemed like frozen water. Heart crystal, Zara said quietly, found only in the deepest caves of our territory, where the planet's core energy touches the surface. It marks you as a friend of the shifting dunes. You may travel our lands freely and call upon us in need. Marcus lifted the pendant, feeling warmth radiate from the crystal. It's beautiful. Thank you. There's more, Nyla piped up, earning a gentle look from her mother. Zara nodded. In 4 days, we celebrate the Fire Moon Festival, when our sister moon burns red in the sky. It is our most sacred gathering, honoring the bonds between our people and the land that sustains us. She paused, her amethyst eyes holding his. We would be honored if you would join us, Marcus Reed, not as an outsider, but as one who has proven himself worthy of trust. Marcus hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to decline politely, to maintain the boundaries he'd so carefully constructed. But as he looked at Nyla's hopeful face, and then at Zara's steady, appraising gaze, He felt something shift inside him, a wall he'd built beginning to crack. "I accept," he heard himself say. Satisfaction flickered across Zara's features. "We will send guides at sunset on the 4th day. Wear what you consider appropriate for celebration." As the procession began to withdraw, Zara lingered for a moment. "You interest me, Marcus Reed. A man who seeks solitude yet acts without hesitation to help others. A warrior who has laid down his weapons, but not his strength." She tilted her head slightly. "I look forward to knowing what other contradictions you contain." Before he could respond, she turned and rejoined her people, moving with a fluid grace that held his attention longer than was probably appropriate. As the group disappeared back into the heat shimmer, Marcus stood holding the crystal pendant, feeling its warmth against his palm. "Well, Bolt," he said to the mechanical dog, "I think our quiet life just got complicated." Bolt's sensors flashed what Marcus had programmed as amusement. And if a robot could laugh, he was certain it would be doing so now. Marcus fastened the pendant around his neck, feeling the crystal settle against his chest with an almost magnetic pull. 4 days until the festival. 4 days to prepare himself for whatever came next. He looked out across the desert, toward the hidden canyons where Zira's people lived, and wondered what he'd just agreed to. More importantly, he wondered why the memory of Zira's amethyst eyes and knowing smile made his carefully maintained isolation suddenly feel less like peace and more like loneliness. The twin suns climbed higher, burning away the morning coolness, and Marcus retreated inside his homestead. But the crystal pendant pulsed against his chest with each heartbeat, a constant reminder that he was no longer quite as alone as he'd been before. And despite everything, despite all his careful plans for a solitary existence, Marcus found himself counting the days until he would see Zara again.